Welcome to Crafty Polyglot, the monthly podcast where language meets creativity. Each month, we sit down with leading voices and innovators in language education, from renowned educators to pioneers shaping the future of multilingual learning. Together, we explore the art, science, and the passion behind mastering languages, uncovering the strategies and stories that inspire learners and educators around the globe. Whether you're a teacher, a student, or simply a language enthusiast, Crafty Polyglot is your gateway to fresh insights, practical tips, and meaningful conversations that celebrate the vibrant world of languages. Join us on this journey, because in every language, there's a new world to discover.
Good morning. I am Dr. Felicia Eybl, a member of the board of the Horse Education Group. It is my pleasure to welcome Sabine MacNamara to the Crafty Polyglot. Sabine is a native speaker of French and the mother of 3 students who enrolled in French Immersion at Waddell and Sale. Welcome, Sabine.
Welcome. Thank you.
As a native speaker of French, having grown up in France and Canada, what motivated you to enroll your children in the language immersion program?
As you mentioned, I grew up in France. I was born in France to a French father and a Canadian mother. So I grew up speaking both languages in the house and went to a very similar setting that Waddell offered. So I went to a French school where, I grew up in France. And then when we moved to Canada, I went to the Toronto French School, which was, everything was in French. All my core electives were in French. All my specials were in French. Even when we had the opportunity to learn a third language, it was French plus the other language. The only English was really English and recess. So I knew I wanted something very similar for my own children. And at the time we were living in New York, and my husband was like, we're moving to Charlotte. And my oldest was not even 2 at the time. And I said, well, just a second. And I Googled French immersion schools in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I came across what was Smith at the time. And I was like, I remember really deep diving into Madame Ivy's wiki page. I fell in love with the school and I was like, oh my gosh, and it's free and it's public. I was like, fine, we can move to Charlotte. And so then I was the happiest person on the face of this earth when I got my lottery letter. She had been admitted for kindergarten. I remember being blown away by the school tour and just everything the school stood for. And I just wanted a French immersion education for my children. At home, we spoke in French. I tried to do as much as I could on my own. I only read French books. We only watched movies with French dubbing. We only listened to French songs in the car. It was French or nothing for the education. So I felt very, very happy and lucky that we got a spot at the school.
Good. So what other expectations did you have when you chose the language immersion program?
Well, all my expectations were the reality.
Right.
That all my expectations came true with everything being taught in the language, French being our choice. So math, science, just their spelling words, the books that would come home were the CMS curriculum, but in French. Those were just what exceeded my expectations of what they would be getting at the school. I was also impressed by most of my daughter's friends did not come from French-speaking homes, I should say. And I just remember being blown away by their vocabulary, their accent, their knowledge, just even by the end of kindergarten. So that was one of the great things that came out of the program was just the knowledge of everything that they received being in the target language.
So I believe you said your youngest daughter participated in the exchange trip to Limoges. So how did that impact her? Although she already spoke French, but how did that impact her that she did the trip on her own without her family?
So she went to Limoges when she was in the 8th grade. Unfortunately, COVID hit, so the older 2 could not go. Right off the bat, they did a really good job pairing her with her exchange partner, whose name is Josephine. She went by Jo. And they were like twins. They looked alike.
Oh, wow.
Everything about them. I'll have to show you a picture. But so she really liked going to Limoges because everyone complimented her on her accent. And she just felt like a little local when she would go to Jo's house was right in the heart of the town. So they were able to go off on their own. And the host parents did a really good job taking her on little weekend excursions. They went and visited the grandparents in the countryside. So that was just a really nice opportunity for her to go out on her own and travel abroad. And then when Jo came here, same thing we tried to do is really American things. Took her to Costco right away. right off the airport. And we went to the Charleston to the beach. We went to a Charlotte FC game, and the girls honestly talk weekly.
That is great.
They chat on WhatsApp. They send each other videos. Super Bowl, she'll show her the Super Bowl spread, the American, fried food spread. But we are hoping we're going to go to France next summer, and we're definitely going to coordinate for the girls to meet up. So that is a lasting friendship that both of them will always have.
Yes. And I've heard that from so many other parents, that their children have built lasting friendships with their exchange partners, that they've been to weddings, that, they've been here. So I think it's wonderful that these connections are built and that these are lifelong friendships. What other benefits do you think your children gain from being enrolled in the language immersion program?
Two that I can think of. Number one was the diversity of the school, particularly in the French program. All of my children's classes really were diverse, like 1/3 Hispanic, 1/3 Black, 1/3 white. It was a very diverse group. And then also all the cultural experiences that they were exposed to, not only in the French program, having teachers from Senegal or Morocco, Belgium, Canada, but all the other cultures. So they took part in the Lantern Parade or the Chulchulten, hearing the taiko drums with the Japanese program, the Lantern Festival with Chinese. And then all three of my children also took Spanish, so they would take part in the Parade of Flags during the Hispanic Cultural Nights. So those things to me were just no other school in CMS has that cultural experience that you can have.
Right.
And it's just such a unique, one-of-a-kind environment. So that's one of the great things that they were able to experience at Sale or Waddell.
And what has the high school articulation looked like for your children? Are they continuing their language? Is your daughter continuing that in college?
So we always knew we were going to be going to South Mech. It's also our neighborhood school. So every time we would drive by, I'm like, there's your high school. But so the transition, in my opinion, went really well. Granted, it's a much, much bigger school, but all the kids did really well, meeting new friends, that joined sports, and they really did well academically. They still continued with French, and actually Juliet continued all the way to Spanish 4. So the oldest, Juliet, is a freshman now at University of South Carolina. She got into the international business program.
Great.
So she's double majoring in international business. And, it's the #1 international business program in the United States.
Great.
Go Cox. And also marketing, and then minoring in French. So with her program, she'll be going to France for studying abroad next year for 1 year. She's going to go to ISEC, which is one of the top business schools in Europe. So she'll be there for a year. And then my son, Jack, who's a junior, is at the North Carolina School of Science and Math in Morganton. So he's finished his French because he's done as much French as they can offer. And he recently got his seal of biliteracy. And then next year, to keep up with his French, he's actually going to be a TA for the French program. So he'll be a teacher's assistant. And then the youngest just started her high school career. So she's a freshman, and she'll do French all the way to French 6. And then not sure yet what the future holds for her, but I'm sure she'll continue with something French related.
Well, that is great.
So yeah,
great.
I think she's just looking forward to joining the French Honor Society and visiting her sister when her sister's in France next summer.
That is great. So what advice would you offer parents who are exploring language immersion and who are not native speakers?
So I would say do it. Don't be afraid of it, and be willing to commit to it as a K-12 educational experience. To take them abroad if they can. When they're older, you really want them to remember it and take it all in, but also have a really good, solid foundation to be able to, can you order this for me at the restaurant, or can you tell the taxi driver where we want to go? But I would also say that if it's not a good fit, that it's okay. Yes. And there's always a spot for you at your neighborhood school, but you won't know it until you try it. Parents would always be the best judge, but the thing that they can just do is try it, give it a shot, read at home and do your part. Do not expect to help them with their homework. You shouldn't be helping them in their target language with their homework. but you'll never know if you don't give it a shot. Not to be afraid. They will not be behind their peers. They will learn to read and write in English and maybe one or two more languages. But I would just say to trust the process. And in the end, it's all worth it.
Absolutely. Thank you. That was really great advice.
Thank you.
Does your husband also speak French?
His resume says intermediate French because it's not beginners, but it's not advanced.
Okay.
He's Canadian. All Canadians have to take French up until the 9th grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I always wondered that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
I certainly appreciate you for
Thank
coming.
you for inviting me. My pleasure.
You're welcome.